I'm here at PAX East 2017, and I'm checking out a game that's in virtual reality. So, you know, it's the new school, but it sort of takes after the old school. Sir, could you tell the folks at home your name?
I'm Rand Miller.
Pleasure to meet you, Mr. Miller. And now you have a bit of a pedigree in the gaming industry?
I do. It's the gray hair. You can tell I've been around a while. So yeah, and I like the way you put that. It's kind of a mixture of the old school with the new school. That's, I guess, how we feel about this. Yeah.
Yeah. So in case people don't know just who Rand Miller is, what games have you worked on?
I think we're probably best known for Myst and Riven back in the day.
That was quite a while back in those halcyon CD-ROM days. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what sort of game is Obduction? Is it an adventure game like Myst?
It is. In fact, very much like Myst. We were trying to get that same kind of feeling. And ironically, every time you do a sequel, you don't feel like you're plopped in someplace new. Myst had this great feeling of being like just plopped onto a dock. You don't know why you're there. You don't know any of the story, and you get to explore. Well, by starting fresh with a new storyline, Obduction, not connected with Myst in any way, we get to do the same thing. You're plopped in here, and you got to figure out why.
So a brand new IP,
yeah,
but also a brand new mystery to solve. Very cool.
Exactly.
So now, how did you get your start in gaming?
Oh my gosh. I was just looking through files at home. I always wanted to write computer games. The first time I ever tried a computer was on an I'm old, so the big IBM mainframe, IBM 360 at a university, and I was hooked. I played the most simple text game you could imagine. It was a lunar lander, but it was just text. And I wanted to do that for a living. I never thought I could, or I'd actually make money doing it. So, yeah. But I was passionate from that point.
Very nice. Now, I think your game was Kickstarted, am I right?
Correct.
Right. So now that's a bit of a difference. I mean, Kickstarter is comparatively new. I mean, it's been around for some years as a way for funding games. But how has it changed things for you?
Boy, it's almost enabling at this point, because we're like an indie developer, and up until this point we've had to kind of go to a publisher, and the publisher gets most of the funds, and they kind of control somewhat a little bit of what you do. So having a large group of very passionate supporters on Kickstarter gives us a freedom to kind of do something like this. And a publisher may not have picked this up. It's too much of that original mix you said, of the old school mix with the new school. But Kickstarter allowed us to do it, and gave us the freedom to kind of try some things that we couldn't do otherwise.
Now, to go back, like way back, what sort of inspired Myst? Like, what made you want to make a game like that?
It's hard to say exactly, but I think we were, my brother and I did it, and we were definitely influenced by books we were reading, by early D&D. We played D&D even. I wasn't a huge fan, but I loved the idea of feeling like I was in a world. And I think that influenced us. We started making kids games that felt like they were in other places, and honestly, that's all we've ever done, is tried to make places that feel like you get a little bit of a feeling like you're in that place.
I see. So you wanted to transport people, as it were.
Oh, absolutely. And even though we started on small screens, even in black and white, we started some of our earlier kids' games, they still had a feeling that it was not a game as much as a place that you were going. And we love that. And with VR now, it's like, boy, it's completely immersive.
You probably remember what VR was in the 90s. Now, did you have any inclinations toward it back then?
Yeah, I mean, we got to try some stuff way back in the day, and it was not good. I remember the nausea, and the low-res screens and the huge cables. So having this at your, so amazingly small, and it's still too big and still too expensive, but we all know where that goes. I mean, within a few years, it'll be smaller and everywhere, and it's exciting.
Now, what would you say has been the biggest challenge making Obduction?
I think we have this legacy of making our worlds are very rich, very artistic and aesthetic, and there definitely are some challenges doing that in VR because of frame rate. You have to keep a fast frame rate. And so we have an art team that was just amazing. I mean, they were able to kind of balance that the right way to get enough frame rate but still feel like it was just a visually stunning place.
Now, what's been your favorite part of developing?
Oh, absolutely. It's watching people play, and in particular with our games, it's when they have these moments of realization. Those aha moments where either a part of the story or a puzzle, it finally clicks and they realize their world gets bigger. And in Obduction in particular, there's these elements that kind of go together where at one point, watching people do this one particular thing with these spheres that are in it without giving too much away, and watching them have this ripple down of like, oh my gosh, where their world gets big, I love that. I just love it.
Now, I have to ask this of every developer. You're not always ready. What is your favorite game of all time?
Oh my gosh. Boy, that's a tough one. Are they all stumble a bit like I do when you ask this question? You know, the one I've got to say the one that influenced me the most, and I'm going to go way back, is a game called Zork. And it was a text adventure, and it's weird to think of that now, but that was one of the first times I myself, in a computer experience, felt like I was in a different place. It felt like I had a story to tell, like I had gone on an adventure, and the next day I could tell somebody that story, and that was magical.
So now, you've been a developer for a while. Do you have any particular advice for maybe developers who are just starting out?
It's a great time to be starting out, like so good. My brother and I started back in kind of this golden time when a couple of guys in a garage could do this, and then we went through a long period where, unless you had a huge publisher and were making a game that was very similar to the other ones, you weren't going to do it. And now we've got this great indie resurgence that, Kickstarters, and you can distribute your games directly to people, and the platforms are free to just kind of download and at least try out and see what you can do. And it's an amazing time to be a developer. So I guess the hardest part now is just doing something unique that stands out. You know, don't try and copy the big guys. Think out of the box and do something that you're passionate about.
Oh, very nice. So let's say folks want to find out more about Obduction. Where can they go?
Obduction.com. Obduction with an O.com.
Also, what platforms is it out on?
It's currently out on PC. Mac version is coming like any day. It's out on Rift for VR, and the touch versions for both Vive and Rift will be out later this month. And then PS4 and PSVR are coming out probably in a few months.
Okay, so people have a lot of options then.
If they don't now, they will. The options keep coming, yeah.
Oh, it's been a pleasure chatting with you, Mr. Miller.
Jordan, my pleasure. Thanks.